When Henry Ford produced his legendary Model T automobile in 1913, he wasn't concerned with fashion or luxury. He just wanted to give people a faster and more efficient way to travel. Over a century later, his original ideas have been refined, amended, and improved 1,000 times over to give us supercars. The vehicles in this video are the pinnacle of luxury when it comes to four-wheeled travel, and they're the ultimate symbol of status for the super rich. Part of what makes a modern supercar valuable is its exclusivity. They don't come much more exclusive than the 2010 Mercedes-Benz SLR Stirling Moss, of which only 75 models were ever built. Not only were they limited in range, they were only available for sale to people who'd already paid for a standard SLR model. These cars, named after the legendary British racing driver, are roofless sports cars with tiny windscreens. That's not great for driving around rainy England, but you'll look fantastic behind the wheel of one in Monaco or Monte Carlo. There's a 5.5-liter V8 engine hiding below that extended hood, with 650 horsepower capable of propelling the vehicle onwards at a top speed of 217 miles per hour. The original sale price was $800,000, but to acquire one now, you'd need closer to $3 million. The 1993 DADA Commandant 112i is a car so rare that for years avid car enthusiasts thought it had disappeared from the eyes of the world forever. It's a prototype, and it's a true one-of-a-kind model, representing the final work of former Porsche designer Eberhard Schultz. It cost Schultz $4 million to design and develop the car, but by the time he was finished, DADA had gone bankrupt, taking the plans to mass-produce the vehicle with them. Schultz's design is a hybrid of Mercedes and Porsche influences, taking the Mercedes V12 engine and blending it with Porsche aesthetics, like the long tail of the Porsche 912 and the lights of the Porsche 968. A copy of the original 1993 model was made for a Swiss businessman in 1999, at the cost of over $1.5 million. The original is largely kept hidden from view, but makes occasional appearances at major auto shows. James Glickenhaus is a name that's well known among car enthusiasts. He's used the millions he's made on the stock exchange to build up a collection of classic and rare cars that has to be seen to be believed. His prized possession has to be the Ferrari P45, which is sometimes known as the Ferrari P45 by Pininfarina. The extended title gives a clue as to its designers. This car was once an Enzo Ferrari, but was remolded and reshaped by the skilled hands of the Pininfarina car design company. Glickenhaus instructed them to style the custom car on the P series of Ferrari race cars from the 1960s. It might have cost him $4 million, but it looks like it was worth every cent. The project was completed in 2006 and was officially badged as a Ferrari after gaining the personal approval of then Ferrari chairman Luca di Montezemolo. We don't often associate Japanese manufacturer Nissan with supercars, but perhaps we would if the Nissan R390 GT1 had ever been produced for general sale, as was the original idea. It's the road-approved version of the Nissan race car of the same name, but only one version of the road car was ever produced back in 1998. TWR designer Ian Callum was the man who put it together, sticking headlights from a 300ZX to a low-slung coupe body, and giving it a 3.5-liter V8 engine capable of 550 horsepower and a top speed of 220 miles per hour. It never went on sale because of its prohibitive price. Each model would have cost $1 million. Nowadays, the still mint condition car is housed permanently at the DADA garage in Zama, Japan. Making a spectacular supercar for use on the roads is often a labor of love. High production costs and limited customer bases make the job expensive and exceptionally hard to make a return on. German companies don't mind though. If they did, we'd never have seen the 1994 Dour 962 Le Mans. As the name suggests, the vehicle is based on the Porsche 962, but was built expressly to order for the famous 24-hour Le Mans race. Race rules at the time meant that any car entering the race also had to have a road-going equivalent, so just one Dour 962 Le Mans was built. It won the race, and the FIA then changed the rules so it could never happen again. The Dour method takes an original Porsche 962, strips everything away, and replaces it with a brand new carbon fiber body and leather interior. You can still buy these cars today, but only 13 people ever have. The Maserati MC12 Corsa is another highly exclusive supercar, with only 12 of them ever being built for private ownership. It's essentially a souped-up Ferrari Enzo, which saw notable success on racetracks during 2004 and 2005. Sadly, you can't drive these beautiful cars on the streets. The 6-liter V12 engine with its 745 horsepower are just too powerful, so anyone who owns it will also need their own land and racetrack to enjoy it the way that Maserati intended it to be enjoyed. The last time we saw one go up for sale was in 2017, when this striking blue model attracted a price of just under $3 million. When Alfa Romeo wanted to get back into the world of endurance sports car racing during the 1960s, they knew they had to make a big statement of intent. That statement was the 1967 Alfa Romeo Tipo 33 Stradale. Only 18 models of Franco Scaglione's design were ever completed, with the majority of them now owned by private collectors. It's rare to see them go up for sale. They're considered to be among the most beautiful cars ever designed, and the lucky few who have them usually want to keep hold of them. If one was to become available, even conservative estimates suggests that the value would be in the region of $10 million. This was the first production vehicle in history to feature butterfly doors, and was created to showcase Alfa's racing technology to the public. You can legally drive these cars on the streets, although you should be careful about which streets you choose to drive them on. They have very low clearance. The Mercedes CLK GTR was another supercar built to circumvent the FIA's rules about racing cars. We have motorsport to thank for the existence of several of the finest road cars the world has ever seen. In adopting the CLK GTR for road use in 1997, Mercedes wanted to give potential buyers the closest possible approximation to driving the racing car equivalent. The 6.9-liter V12 engine with 630 brake horsepower is identical to the racing class, with only the standard Mercedes lights and C-Class grille giving you any clue that you might be able to drive it to and from work. Mercedes found just enough room to include ABS and air conditioning, although storage space is a little on the tight side. Acquiring one of the range of 25 cars would cost you something like $5 million. With only 106 models built, the McLaren F1 is a rare beast to begin with. But within that number is an even more unique variant known as the McLaren F1 LM. McLaren only built 6 of them, and one of those was the development car, leaving only 5 to make their way out into the world. The F1 LM was built as a tribute to the F1 GTRs, which memorably raced in the 1995 Le Mans race. But these supercars are even more powerful than the racing version. The 6.1-liter V12 F1 GTR engine has been de-restricted, giving it 680 horsepower engine. Even McLaren described their creation, which only comes in a vivid shade of orange, as a race car with license plates. Amazingly, they weren't convinced that it would sell, hence keeping the numbers so low. All 5 models were sold in less than 10 minutes. Looking back, perhaps they should have made more. There are a few cars that lay claim to the idea of being the first ever supercar, but the Lamborghini Miura might have the strongest case for that title. When it was built in 1996, it looked like nothing else that had come before it. We're talking about the first ever production sports car that featured a mid-engine layout. The Miura is the car that put Lamborghini on the map. They'd only opened their doors 3 years earlier, so who knows where they'd be today without it. As well as being a revolutionary creation, the Miura was an intentional slap in the face to Enzo Ferrari, who'd fired Ferruccio Lamborghini for criticizing one of his cars, and described him as a tractor builder. The Miura, with its 350 horsepower and top speed of 170 miles per hour, proved him wrong. It was the fastest car in the world during its era, and an absolute design classic. Aston Martin won't win any awards for the naming of the 177 supercar. It was given that title because only 77 of them were ever built. The car would, however, win awards in just about any other motoring category. Produced between 2010 and 2012, it was the most powerful, naturally aspirated automobile in the world at the time it was created. It was also one of the very fastest, with a top speed of 220 miles per hour, driven by a V12 engine that offered 750 horsepower. Aston Martin marketed it as a hypercar instead of a supercar, with a sale price of exactly $1 million. These days, should you find one available, you can probably double that price and then add some more on top. Even people who don't know anything about supercars would probably be able to identify Bugatti as a supercar manufacturer. The French company has been turning out incredible cars for decades, but our favorite from their range might just be the Bugatti EB110, a 4-turbo 3.5-liter V12 engine with 550 horsepower, a 6-speed manual gearbox, and a top speed of 213 miles per hour would be an impressive list of attributes for a car built in 2019. Back in 1991, when the EB110 was new, they were simply unheard of. In the best possible way, this car was a freak. The strangely small roll-down windows are the size they are because of a very compelling reason. If they were any larger, the air pressure while driving at top speed would shatter them. For the ultimate seal of approval, Formula One racing legend Michael Schumacher purchased an EB110 in 1994. If it was good enough for him, it's good enough for you. What makes a great supercar is a topic that people like to debate passionately. And we're sure you'll have your own thoughts, which you can tell us down in the comments. But there are some examples we can all agree come close to perfection. One of them is the Koenigsegg CCXR Trevita. Forbes magazine, with very good reasoning, has named it as one of the 10 most beautiful cars ever built. To many people, it's as stunning as a diamond on wheels. That's because of the distinctive silver-white carbon fibers that make up the bodywork. When the sunlight hits a Trevita, it sparkles like a precious rock. It doesn't just look good either. The 4.8-liter V8 engine packs 1,018 horsepower and offers 254 miles per hour as a top speed. Only 3 of them were ever made. One of them belongs to all-time great boxer Floyd Mayweather, who paid $4.8 million for it in 2015. This is the car that the modern Ford GT looks up to in wonder. It's the Ford GT40. The 1960s GT40s were based on the British Lola MK6 car, but were fitted out with American engines to make them better suited for racing. The legendary status of this early supercar was secured by its performances at 24-hour Le Mans races, which various models of the car won 4 times consecutively between 1966 and 1969. Even the GT in the name stands for Grand Touring. The 1967 GT40 Mark III was built as a road car version of the legendary vehicle, with a couple of alterations to make it suitable for driving on standard roads. Even with an extended rear for storage and chrome overrides on the fenders, there was no denying the beauty of this racing superstar. Only 7 models were ever completed, and would currently fetch a price of $3 million on the open market. Ferrari are very serious about motor racing, and when they're designing a car, they'll create a few test models just to make sure that the final product will be as good as it looks on paper. In the case of the gorgeous Ferrari 250 Testarossa, they created exactly 34 test models in 1957. Every single one of them was touched by the hands of the legendary Sergio Scaglietti, giving them a provenance and class all of their own. After successful testing, the model went on to win almost every race it competed in between 1957 and 1963. Taking it from supercar status to cultural icon, the 250 Testarossa is considered one of the most exclusive cars Ferrari ever built, and command the very highest prices ever seen for cars at auction. 2 of them are within the personal collection of Ralph Lauren, who has no desire to get rid of them or sell them, and the most recent confirmed sale of one was in 2014 for a staggering $39.8 million. That's a little prancing horse with a big price. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.